One thing I did last week that I wanted to get your take on and kind of see what you're doing. I like to kind of start because when Kendall and I do a show together, he's like me. He's investing in a lot of sports cards. Murph, who's one of our other co-hosts on the show, he doesn't really buy anything. He just kind of like chimes in with his takes on players and stuff. But since Kendall and I are super involved as investors, I like to say, okay, well, here's what I've done since we last talked. What did you do? And what's our thought behind it? I think that's kind of a cool segment. So one of the things I've sort of been talking about doing since probably September or November is investing in some wax of this year's NBA rookie class. And so Panini just dropped last Friday, just a few days ago, elite basketball hobby boxes. And my thought is like we never really know how these are going to go, but in looking at the release details, I mean, you get 8 cards per pack, 20 packs per box, 2 autographs, 8 inserts, and 8 parallels per box on average. I love the rookie class, and my thought is ideally, if I were living in the United States, I would be able to I'd maybe rip it. There's probably like a 75% chance I would rip it and try to be one of the first to the market, or at least early to the market with whatever rookies that I pulled from it. Because we've seen some rookies from Hoops go really high in terms of rookie autographs.
Mm-hmm.
As of right now, we've seen guys like Kuminga and Giddey and some of the other guys go super high with their rookie autographs just from the Hoops release. So with this Don Russ Elite release, my thought is if any of you out there bought it, I'd love to hear from you and what you're going to do with it. Since I probably won't, I'm having it shipped to my PWCC vault. I bought 1 box for $325. Avoided the sales tax to Tennessee, which is actually kind of a bitch, to be honest. It's a high sales tax in Tennessee. So, but it's kind of a wash because PWCC is going to charge me about the same amount to curate it. So all in, I'm probably going to be $350 into this box. I won't have access to it until probably July. So it's going to be, I'm not going to have the opportunity to be first to the market with any of these singles. Nor do I think maybe it's going to be actually that valuable to get them graded or that strategic to get them graded, as I kind of learned last year. So my thought is I might just hold these. Now, when I look at the eBay sold listings of this particular box from Ja Morant's rookie year, and now, of course, you've got Garland from that class and a bunch of other guys from that class who have started to flash, 2019, 2020, that elite box, same hobby box, is selling for closer to $500 now. And then so is last year's with Anthony Edwards and
LaMelo.
And Maxey and Bane and some of those other guys. So we kind of always hit on our view on this year's rookie class. So I actually think this could be a box that does go up in value if I just hold it for a few years sealed. Now, I don't know. Now, Kendall, you are a breaker. And so you might have better ways of getting these boxes. I bought it directly from PaniniAmerica.net. What do you think about this? Do you think, is what I'm doing here okay? Is it the right move? Is there a better way to be doing this? What do you think about this potential play here to buy this and hold it?
So my stance on basketball is always hold, always. If you can, if you want to take that position. A lot of guys are just like, I want it right now. I want to open it. I want to see them, all that kind of stuff. But because basketball has such a low amount of players that are available in the product, I think the per card value is so high, or the per hit value is so high that it's so easy to keep. Even blasters appreciate really well. Like we saw that with the 2021 Prism boxes. Even the blasters were reselling for crazy amount of upside in terms of an investment piece. And so I think for me, this particular product, the Donruss product, It doesn't have as many cards as some of the other boxes, if I remember correctly. But I think the per card value, when you look at eBay sales and the amount of players involved in the product, especially with the NBA, is really good about putting. They don't just packet tons of veterans. Like you might have per pack, you might have 4 or 5 veterans, and then 4 or 5 second or third year players, which I guess are veterans, but like, those sometimes those second, third year cards still hold value. But those first year rookie cards are really important. And I've seen with the NBA, they're really good about putting rookies in each pack, or maybe not the top shelf rookies, but you're going to get somebody in there. And that's different than some other sports and some other products. But the thing that I think is really key about the basketball products is the amount of return per card is really good for basketball. So I would put them away. I see basketball wax, no matter if it's top shelf wax, like if it's a jumbo or a hobby or anything like that, or blasters, I see them appreciating, especially because we haven't had I know there's been a little bit of a delay in the basketball season for products being put out. And so I would hold it personally.
Yeah, thanks for that. I like that. I like what you're saying, and it's good to know that just from you're a different type of investor than I am, and just kind of focused on. There's a lot of crossover between us, but you're kind of focused on different sports than I am, and so
Mm-hmm.
I think that hearing your take on basketball makes me feel good. So there's another release coming up for the actual Don Russ basketball hobby box. The one that I was talking about was the Elite. So the Don Russ 2020, 2022, 2021, 2022 release hobby box is coming up soon. And my guess is it would be at a similar price point to the Elite because it's a lesser quality, I think, but it's more cards in the box. And so there's one autograph, one memorabilia, 60 inserts parallels per box on average, 30 cards per pack, 10 packs per box. So 300 cards.
300 cards.
Which is probably one of the hobby box. It's probably the most cards you might ever get in a box directly from Panini, or pretty close to it. So anyway, that's another one I'm looking at because you've got the rated rookies and the parallels of the rated rookies with autos on them. I don't know if they're numbered or not, but there's also like Jersey Kings inserts and some other cool stuff. Net Marvels, I think, sells well if you get a big name player. So that might be.
I think I would rip that one.
You would rip that one? Okay, talk about that, because one thing I was going to say is, to your point about holding wax, is personally it distracts me to see maybe the cards that aren't worth as much. I have a tendency to talk myself into them potentially being worth something, and then spending time figuring out what to do with them, just because I don't like waste. And that we've talked about that. Like, generally in life, I don't like waste. And so that definitely plays a role into my sports card investing. It's part of the reason why I don't buy as much wax, because I want to have options, and I don't. And if I rip the box, I get distracted by the other cards. And so, like, why would you rip this Don Russ product? And why would you keep the Elite sealed or something like the Elite sealed, but rip the regular Don Russ?
For me, it would all be because of the top end of the product. Typically when you are developing, or if you're investing in a big box like that, you're kind of expecting the high end to be what you're shooting for. And I think the higher in the box, the easier it does to appreciate or to hold out in a long-term investment. The shorter product, the ones with the more paper Donruss and the more cards, for me, the reason I would rip them is because it's easier for us to put that in a break. So I always think about it from a breaking perspective, just, because that's primarily what I do. Also, I'm right there with you I don't like holding a bunch of paper or a bunch of trash cards that, for instance, I package up all of my bulk and I get rid of it. So if it's like any fifth-year veteran cards that are just paper. I just put them in a box, and eventually, I package those up and I get rid of them to some degree. So the reason that I would rip the larger product is it's easier to break a product when you are when you're looking at your customers or at the people that are potentially wanting to buy into a break. When you look at the price per card and you know that they can ship out multiple cards, that's typically what people are wanting when they're buying into breaks. They want the ability to have more chances to hit a card that is valuable for them. So with the more cards, even though most of them are paper, it gives us the ability to say that the price per card point is lower, which I know that's kind of a direct contradiction to what I just said about the potential. You're holding the other box because the price per card is higher. But I think that's why I would rip the other one, is the price per card long-term investment might not be as high, because when you see some of the larger boxes, and I think this is also, I mean, a caveat here, this is only for modern cards. Like wax was so different in retro or in vintage cards. It was like they just like for instance, like if you look at like Skybox from basketball in the early 90s, they just had Skybox, and they might have had a couple of releases or version 1, version 2, like later in the year, but they didn't have like, this is the Skybox regular and this is the Skybox hobby edition or what. And they might, I mean, to caveat that a little bit, they did have some special releases, but it's not like it is now. And I think there's some products that are more available for the collector and there's some products that are more available for the investor.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think if you have a plan for ripping a box like Donruss and having a lot of extra, even though, I mean, I like what you said, like from an economic standpoint, the price per card is lower. So if you're able to have a plan where, okay, I'm going to have X amount of inserts, parallels, I know that. I'm going to have X amount of autographs and memorabilia cards or whatever. So if maybe like depending on what else you have going on in your sports card business, you can do something with the extra base cards. As an investor, though, would you, if you were me, who's not a breaker, do you see buying and holding a box of Donruss as an investment, or would you wait for the Prism and the Optic and the other releases?
I would wait for Prism and Optic, just because. So the Donruss, they have cool rated rookies and stuff like that, but it really is a lower end product. I think if you're strictly holding wax, Prism is the way to go, or the high level Optic and Donruss boxes, because there are some really 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 sweet Donruss and rated rookies on the see-through ones or whatever. Those are super cool.
Clearly Donruss.
Yeah, and so, but personally, if you're holding for an investment standpoint, I would say Prism holds its value from a guy who doesn't necessarily invest a ton in basketball. From a clearly observer's perspective, the Prisms are holding the most value from year to year. And so I know that they are generic and they're generic in a way where they're very similar from year to year most of the time. And it's just like the kind of the same border, the same thing, and just put a different player on it, and but at the same time, like that's the card that people are looking for, like LaMelo's. Like if you were getting LaMelo's rookie card, you didn't care about the NBA hoops one where he's like, just whatever. I thought it was a dumb picture of him
it's
on
such a weird picture. Yeah.
But like his Prism card, like I have one.
Yeah.
Like me, who doesn't necessarily collect other sports, and so like I invest in other sports, but just for me to want to have a LaMelo Prism shows that that's the card you want, like, so
yeah.
if I'm gonna have one, I'm gonna get the Prism card. So
yeah. So for those of you listening who are kind of wondering like what my methodology was for this elite release, it was basically to go back and see like, okay, I'm in love with this year's rookie class. I've talked about that a billion times. So, but I'm not investing necessarily in the singles yet, just because the releases have been like the lower end cards. I went into eBay sold listings and basically made the search for previous years same product and made the determination there's a good chance that this price point will appreciate over time based on how well the product has sold. Now there's going to be people who can poke holes in that theory for sure that know more about the intricacies of these releases than I do. But generally what I do is player prospecting, and I'm fully confident that this year's rookie class, rather than go out and try to buy every single one of the rookies that I love, I'm thinking just buy the box and hold it. I might pass on the Don Russ because of your advice, because for me, I'm not going to be able to rip it and sell it right away. If I was, I might rethink that. Kendall McKee from Wild Cards Box Breaks on Facebook and justbaseball.com, my awesome co-host. Appreciate you being on. I'm Paul Hickey with nooffseason.com. Remember, go to nooffseason.com, check out the sports card investment report. I think you'll like it. And go to marketmoversapp.com and use the promo code NOOFFSEASON, all lowercase, to save 20% on that great product. Everybody, thanks for watching and listening. Have a great day.